What's good YouTube, and welcome to the house. It is not often here on the channel that I, of all people, would suggest buying a sealed product from Konami, but I'm not telling you to rip it open and chase after the pulls. I think that this is almost guaranteed to be a huge plus if you keep it sealed, set it aside, and wait for the value to go up. That being said, let's play a game that should never be played on the channel. What's in the YouTuber's lap? I have picked up a brand new sponsor, which is Ophidian Accessories, and they have an awesome upcoming Mermail Atlantean playmat. It looks real nice, and you can use code WATSGOOD5 over here on their site in order to take 5% off of your entire orders. I really like this one. You have Shadow Construct, which has the upcoming structure deck, and that's in February for Shadows. And then you have the legendary Duelist, which focused around Bakura and is a great segue into this conversation. That being said, there are dangers into buying sealed product that you will want to highly consider whenever you are approaching it. Let's go ahead into what Konami did that was relatively genius. Not too long ago, Konami ended Duelist packs with kind of a whimper. Duelist Pack Dimensional Guardians was a really big failure overall. One of SEMO's do not buy this pack at all kind of things that happened back then. And Konami rebranded this completely to where a lot of the community didn't realize that Legendary Duelist literally is just Duelist packs. It's focused around characters from the show, but instead Konami hyped it up, ramped it up, put multiple characters in each all over the place, and brought in some decent support for past decks that doesn't necessarily affect the meta, yet has really good prices over time. I think Legendary Duelist Magical Hero is one of the best long-term investments you can make in sealed product upcoming, but I think a lot of people are going to catch on to this one, and that a ton of people are going to set this aside and not necessarily chase after the pulls, especially after Immortal Destiny had such terrible pull rates on the evil heroes. What happened with that and stops it from being a great investment is that a ton of vendors actually, once they saw the ratios, stopped opening the sealed product and kept trying to sell just boxes rather than chasing after these couple of evil heroes they might maybe pull per case. But Legendary Duelist Magical Hero, almost no matter what happens with it, I think will go up over time. When we look at Legendary Duelist in the past, well, Ancient Millennium is its own beast. It's pretty crazy and has one of the only meta-impacting cards on the cover of it. But you also have recently spiking up Legendary Duelist White Dragon Abyss, which focuses on Kaiba in the blue eyes for the cover. The original has gone up and off of market for the most part, and then you still have this at a decent price. Wait, John, $53? A decent price? How do you figure that one? Well, vendors actually get this booster box for around $40, and even from people who are selling majorly to the public, you can get it relatively cheap on pre-order. We're talking $45 for a singular box, and if you buy enough, you get free shipping from the Card World. And we also see them letting them go towards $43 a box if you're ordering a full case. This is pretty crazy, in my opinion, that it's so accessible to the public to get this sealed and set aside through a site like this. But they've done massive orders, and I've actually done a lot of business with them in the past, so it's a site that I want to show off. Even though they're not really open to sponsoring the channel, it's for you guys. So when we look at this sealed, I think setting aside a case is not the worst thing in the world, considering almost every Legendary Duelist in the past has risen. And this has so much upward potential because it focuses on 5 protagonists, 5 main characters of the anime and their cards. So you're going to have people from every generation of Yu-Gi-Oh! Looking at this and looking for cards inside, whether they're going to use them in meta decks or not. Casual does not mean broke. Casual does not mean low on market. But there is a meta impacting card in here undeniably when we look at Magician Souls. This card is insane, and for some reason, Spiral Master Plan is a spellcaster, and it combos very well with her, but you have a card that literally can summon itself from the hand by Foolish Burial, like being a Foolish Burial for a level 6 or higher spellcaster, just generically, not specifically Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl, and then you can special summon that from the graveyard if it's what you sent instead of summoning this card to the field. But if you summon this to the field, you can then also get extra draw power later. what an insane freaking card with generic upward potential for the future. We look through other cards. If you don't look at this card as an original anime fan and say, yeah, I think I'd like that for the artwork, let alone the freaking insane easy summoning condition and pretty darn good effect, well, I don't know that you're the biggest fan of Yu-Gi-Oh! Or at least Yugi himself. We also get a quick play ritual or fusion spell. This kind of breaks what we knew about the game and also is pretty awesome. You then have elemental heroes, which, whether you think these are good or bad within the set, e-hero fans tend to get things that are more exclusive and take them up over time, whether they're being played in the metagame or not. We also see, for Yusei, some pretty cool support. Satellite Warrior doesn't have to be destroyed by your opponent for its last effect, and I bet you there's going to be some very specific combo that probably gets wrecked by hand traps, but we've seen synchros make it into the modern age with Saryuja being an insane enabler for that deck. So I think maybe there's a way to break this in, but I don't see the combos yet. And you get another Synchron card, and then the Gagagas. With this artwork, I have a sneaking suspicion. Our set is 56 cards currently. While subjects can change, we get 56 cards while Japan gets 55. Maybe we can finally get the import of Magi Magician Gal. Like, now again, I don't like to speculate. This isn't what's leading me to tell you to invest in it. This is just an exciting maybe with this set. And then you also have Yuya along with Yuma. I think Pendulum Era is probably the least really digested investment point of Yu-Gi-Oh! Outside of competitive. I don't think there's a lot of fans that go for collecting this necessarily. I'm sure you're out there in the comment section, you're gonna tell me you are, but I don't think it's the biggest investment point of this pack. What really sells it is similar to Kaiba selling White Abyss, that you have Yugi's cards and cards focused around Dark Magician Girl, which is one of the most collectible cards of all time, and a pack that no Legendary Duelist specific card has seen a reprint ever, and we're years into Legendary Duelist now. I think this is pretty awesome that this set as a whole is coming forward and has such collectability to it without necessarily slamming the meta with each and every card. And we've seen this from multiple Legendary Duelists doing very well, where you could have bought these for $45 and held on to them. And we don't just look at this. When we go to Duelist packs, actually, one of the most successful Duelist packs in terms of the secondary market is Battle City, which had Jurageto and Sphere Mode as the only cards impacting the meta, yet Yugi and Kaiba are there on the front. That's pretty much what it took. And if we go over to TCG Player here, which using my link in the description down below, you can support the channel directly, costing you nothing extra at all by using it and shopping for cards you'd already be after. I believe if we look up Battle City here, it's one of the most wanted Duelist packs. Yeah, completely sold out, and there was a over $100 box very recently. So this aged very well over time. Now, a word of warning with sealed product. Konami can print an unlimited run anytime, even if there's no history of them doing that with, say, the Legendary Duelist. Konami can just yeet it out there. They actually did that with Duelist Pack Yugi and Kaiba recently in a box set that had the Giant Dark Magician. I think that product actually flopped real bad too, while you could pull like Ultimate Crush Card, Ultimate Pot of Greed. It didn't do too well as a product. It was on Barnes & Noble's shelf for a long time and actually got put on clearance. I think that they would maybe go for this first. So you don't want to hold on to it necessarily too long, and you're going to be versus a rush of other people who probably realize with this one, after looking at all the Legendary Duelists, that I think I'm gonna hold on to this one. I'm not gonna rip it open and get hurt real bad like I did with, Immortal Destiny chasing down the evil heroes and two other really gross short prints here in the US. I'm gonna go ahead and keep this sealed and wait for it to do what Kaiba did up over here. Jeez. Now, this is a little cheaper on eBay, to be fair. It's towards $90 right now, so it's not just like this insane, oh yeah, this did great, brother, from Kaiba, but this is a double up You have heavier shipping than singles and fees, but it's still a relatively good payday if you set this aside and kept it. Now, sealed will have slower selling rates. You'll be facing top-rated sellers being the lowest at points here that decide, well, now's the time for me to go ahead and put this up. So you'll have a little bit of raised competition with more patient sellers who will take a little bit less. You're going to have to consider these things whenever you go for sealed product and set it aside, along with that ticking clock of, oh, Konami, they could be reprinting this like, oh, the Legendary Dex 1 coming up this year and the Legendary Dex 2 last year. There's definitely a clock on reprints of products. And the Hero Strike Structure deck is around. Someone in my Discord was surprised by that, even though we talked about it on Market Watch. Konami, at any point in time with a sealed product, can yeet it back out into the market when they feel like it. So do be aware of that. But I still think, with the history of Legendary Duelists and what they've done so far, that a price point like this is really good. Again, this is the card world. I wish you would sponsor me one day. Maybe you'll wonder where an influx of sales came from. But I really do think that putting a case of this aside is free money down the line when we look at the history of Legendary Duelists. Again, don't be ripping this open. I'd set it aside and buy the singles. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please subscribe if you enjoyed this in-depth discussion. A lot of people usually ask what upcoming set's worth buying. I think it would be this one, but you gotta resist that itch to open some packs. That's a hard itch for me too, man.